For our top international story this hour, we're following elections in Germany, where voters have dealt another blow to Chancellor Angela Merkel, with both parties in her governing coalition on course to suffer heavy losses in Sunday's state election in Hesse. Though still in the lead, Merkel's Christian Democrats are projected to drop 11 percentage points compared to 2013. But it's a very different story for the anti-immigrant AfD party, as well as the Greens, with supporters from both already in a celebratory mood. Merkel announced today that she will not seek another term for chancellor. RT's Peter Oliver is in Berlin.
Well, the state elections in Hesse came down to good old-fashioned winners and losers. In the winners' enclosure, well, amongst them certainly Alternative for Germany, the AfD entering the state parliament in Hesse for the first time. Hesse, interestingly enough, the state where the party was first conceived and the idea founded back in 2013. Well, they've taken around 13% of the vote. They'll take up their first seats there, and that means they have representation in all of the local parliaments, all of the state parliaments across Germany, and of course the national parliament, the Bundestag. AfD party leadership understandably happy at the result.
With a People's Party, the AfD is now represented in every German region after the great success in Hesse.
Also, big winners on the night were the Green Party. They've continued momentum that they've, well, generated over the past few months. It really is quite a surprise. If you cast your mind back just over a year ago in the general election here in Germany, the Greens limped over the line into the Bundestag. Now we've seen them, well, make great grounds in local elections in Bavaria. They've just done the same thing in Hesse and look like they will be a key part in forming the local government there. But where there's winners, there has to be losers. And in this case, the losers again were the parties representing the ruling Grand Coalition, Angela Merkel's Christian Democratic Union and the Social Democratic Party. Both dropped around 10% in the polls, those votes going either to the Greens or to Alternative for Germany for the most part. What we have seen, though, is the people turning away on a local level from problems they see on a national level. And it's not just voters that have been saying this.
The state of the government is unacceptable. We therefore expect the CDU to take appropriate action.
This evening there was a very mixed message. Hesse wants the Christian Democratic Union to continue leading this state, but many people have shown during this election that it must be different, not in Hesse, but in Berlin.
Well, the suggestion there that there really needs to be a change at the top, that it's Angela Merkel in Berlin that's causing the problems that we're seeing reflected on local governments in the 16 German states. Don't get me wrong, though, this is no way going to be the result that topples Angela Merkel. However, it could be one of the 1,000 cuts that may eventually lead to her political demise.
With German elections in question, we're joined now by Bijan Tavassoli. He's a member of Die Linke, or the Left Party in Germany. Welcome to the show, Bijan. With Germany's political future in question, I want to get into exactly the situation that's going on right now. Can you illuminate the political situation in Germany at the moment for U.S. viewers? What contributed to CDU's major losses, not just in this election, but also recent elections in Bavaria?
Thank you for having me on. So, to put this in perspective, it's a state election. It's a regional election. So, it is very interesting that a majority of the voters said that they didn't vote because of political issues in their state of Hesse, but because of issues in Berlin. And there is a growing consensus among the CDU base that it can't go on with Angela Merkel. And the problem is that for 13 years, starting in 2005, she has been in power. And she has always had the line of, there is no alternative. And now there is an alternative. There's multiple alternatives emerging, and the voters are growing tired of her lines. And what we've seen in Berlin in the last months is political chaos. No one knows where this election will lead us. I actually think that it might be the last cut for the government of Angela Merkel. It will end her government. And as she has announced today, she will not stand for another election, neither in her own political party nor for another government.
Why is she so unpopular? What's driving this frustration with Merkel and her party?
She has no visions, and she has never had any visions. And for the last 13 years, she has managed Germany, but she hasn't shown us a way to the 21st century. And especially, of course, with the refugee crisis, her lack of vision has come to haunt her.
And can you expand on that? Because the AfD party, which is rising in popularity, it seems, has a reputation for being quite anti-immigrant. But we've seen across Europe, working people are concerned with the migrant influx, which they see as, not just for cultural reasons a threat, but also economic reasons as well. How can Die Linke and other parties address these same concerns in a way AfD doesn't, which, includes fear-mongering about migrants?
Well, the problem with Angela Merkel and the CDU and other conservative governments, but also social democrats in the last decades, was that they have destroyed the social safety net that Europe has been known for. And so in a situation where people do not have social security, where they are scared of losing their jobs from one day to the next, then it's completely understandable that they have some fear about competition from migrants. So what the left answer to that is to restore the social security net so that people will be less scared from, competition.
The right-wing AfD also makes improving Germany's military, which it says is in crisis, main component of its platform. This is despite the fact that Germany has actually increased its role in NATO recently, leading exercises in Lithuania, for example. How is rising militarism in Germany tied to the rise of the right, and how might any of this impact Germany's relationship with NATO?
The right-wing extremists from the AfD party are in a long tradition of German militarism that goes back to even before Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. But their goal of increasing the size and the budget of German military is completely counter to what the people in Germany want and need. We need investment into infrastructure, into social security, social services. We have a situation where the hospitals are understaffed, where the schools are understaffed and the buildings are crumbling. That is where the investment should be going. But because of NATO demands to increase spending up to 2% of GDP, that's 20% of our state budget. That is ridiculous. And that will lead us to another politics of austerity and to cuts at the wrong ends. But Angela Merkel has always been the pawn of the American deep state. Whatever Barack Obama told her, she did. And now with Donald Trump in the White House, she has no one to call. But NATO officials telling her to increase the budget, well, she just does it. And that's something that Germans are grown tired of. We want an independent foreign policy, and especially concerning Lithuania at the border regions with Russia, we don't want a buildup of military forces there because we are scared for our security. We don't want a conflict with Russia. We want peace in Europe.
That's something Americans often forget when we're discussing NATO, that our allies in Europe and the people there are the ones who will bear the brunt of any confrontation with Russia. But finally, there have been a string of right-wing anti-European Union victories over the continent in recent months. Considering Germany's central part in the EU, what could AfD's recent gains mean for the future of that organization?
It could very well mean the end of the EU. And the question is, the EU cannot continue on as it stands now. Brexit has shown that there's growing discontent with the current EU based in Brussels. So the left says that we need a different European Union. We need a different Europe. We need to include countries that are now at the exterior of the European Union, such as Russia. We need to find a way to work together. And that is the left answer. And that is the answer where we will find a Europe for all, a Europe not for the few, but for the many, a Europe where social security, social issues will be at the heart and not industrial policy.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on and breaking this all down for our U.S. viewers who may have not been following this news so closely. Bijan Tavassoli, member of the Linke party in Germany. Thanks so much.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.